Welcome to the HerStory Circle podcast, the podcast that brings you the extraordinary tales of everyday women who are changing the world. I'm your host, Tripti Goyle, and I'd like to acknowledge traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today. I also like to pay my respects to elders, past, present, and emerging. Every week, we dive into the lives, challenges, and triumphs of women from all four corners of the globe. We're here to inspire, enlighten, and connect, sharing stories that uplift and empower. So grab a cup of coffee, settle in, and join us as we explore the incredible journeys of women shaping our future. This is Her Story, where every woman's voice matters. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the HerStory TV and the HerStory Podcast. This is Tripti Goyle here in beautiful Melbourne, Australia. And today I am graced with the presence of yet another fascinating young woman. Welcome, welcome, welcome to our tribe. Please tell everybody your full name, where you're based, how old you are, and share your story with us today.
Thank you so much for the lovely, warm welcome, Gertrude. Hi, everyone. My name is Tripti Goyle, and I'm here from beautiful Melbourne, Australia. I'm 38 years old, and I'm a mother of two beautiful daughters, and I married to a wonderful man, Mr. Varun Goyle. Varun and I together run Trusted Financial Choice. That is a mortgage brokerage company here in Melbourne, just in Mulgrave. We provide lending services for all clienteles across all spectrums: home loans, commercial loans, development, SMSF, and asset finance. I don't come from the finance background, so hubby looks after that side of things, and I manage the operational and marketing side of the business, which is what I've done for the last 15 years. Marketing is what I studied at Monash University as well, so this comes to me naturally. It's something that I really love and am really passionate about. Another key element of our business strategy is our corporate responsibility. And with that piece, we do a lot of community engagement around mental health advocacy. That's something really personal for me. Unfortunately, several years ago, a very close family member underwent something that was really difficult for them, and because of this, it was the first time that I actually became aware and got to know what mental illness actually looked like. And I unfortunately saw it in a very dark side, and it was never something that I knew prior to this particular family member having undergone so many challenges and so many difficult times for their life. And I was part of that journey, fortunately or unfortunately. And since those incidences that had happened and stuff, it's brought me to make sure that I do my part for the community, and we as a business owner also do our part to ensure that we can continue this work around mental health advocacy and let people understand the importance of their mental health. We always talk about the importance of physical health, make sure you're eating right, you're drinking a lot of water, make sure, you're exercising, try and get those 10,000 steps in, make sure you're going out and getting some fresh air and stuff. What we fail to recognize and what we don't do enough of is also focusing on our mental health. That is something that is incredibly critical, incredibly important for everyone, especially if you're, one of those people that's always on the go, one of those people that never really make the time for themselves, one of those people that are constantly chasing those goals. And if you're under pressure with, achieving the next target, and the scary thing about it is that you don't actually realize sometimes till it's too late, till you get into a place which people refer to as a dark place, or people feel quite lonely or feel in a space where they can't open up or where they can't share and speak to anyone because people might not understand, people might judge you, people think that you're not good enough, or people might criticize and say, oh, he can't handle this or she can't handle a little bit of stress, and people then self-close. So one of the things that, we as humans, I think it is really important that we try and do our part to make it a better world for everyone, not just for ourselves, for our community, but also for our children and the children of tomorrow. We want to make sure that we're all living in a place where we understand this and we can talk about it without having so much taboo and so much stigma around this really important piece. So that's why and when I refer to we, I said my husband and I, and within our business as well, it's something that is ingrained for us. So whilst, it's wonderful and every business, is there to make a profit, I think it's equally important to make sure that you're also giving something back to the community, and you have to find what that is, and for us, it's about the advocacy piece around mental health and making sure that it's a safe space. People feel comfortable to come speak to someone. People are a lot more knowledgeable about something that's so important. And whilst it's important to actually understand that and recognize that, also create this environment where they can feel comfortable to seek the help that's really necessary. So that's me in a nutshell. That's things that I'm involved with, and yeah, I really appreciate this.
You've touched on a very, very pivotal subject with regards to mental health, Tripti. They say that our emotions are like our children, that when they come to us, we have to pay attention to them. And a lot of times we suppress emotions, we try and push it down, we don't want to feel. And as you know, I recovered from heart failure due to the stress and hypertension of what I went through when I was going through my divorce. And that energy gets trapped in your body and has to come out somehow.
100%.
I ended up collapsing in a rice field in Indonesia while on holiday because of the stress.
That's it. And, that's so scary to hear that, you collapsed in a rice field. And I'll still say, whilst that's incredibly scary and, incredibly painful to hear, you were still fortunate that you fell in a rice field. You don't know when your body's going to shut down. Imagine if you're behind the wheel. Imagine you're with your kids. Imagine you're in a place where there's no one around to, come to you and to get that help. And that's the worst thing. I'll share something very personal. Anyone that knows me really well knows I like to take the effort to dress up, and like us ladies, we like to just put on the makeup, and especially when you got going out and stuff. I was in a operational role a couple of years ago. It was a very high-end role. I had 15 young guys reporting to me because I was the operations manager in the manufacturing industry. And being a female in a very male-dominated industry is tricky. But then when you have men that are of a different background that don't acknowledge or appreciate a woman in an authoritarian role, that makes it even more challenging. So whilst I was in this operational management role, I was under a lot of undue stress, which I never actually realized, and I just kept going. I'm like, okay, they're throwing me a challenge. They think, I can't do this role, and little things in terms of putting orders through for the team, for them to go pick these orders through. Little challenges kept cropping up and stuff. My body, whilst I was in this role, was shutting down, and I didn't realize that. I was finding myself grinding my teeth, and I was getting pain down my neck, and I was like, what's going on? I could feel things walking up and down my back. And the other thing was, I started losing my hair. I never actually realized that. And then I was in that role for about a year and a half. And I was like, I got to a point where I left. It was a very nice 6-figure paying job. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. And I was like, not because I can't do the role anymore. It's because I can't do this to myself anymore. And so I left without a role in my hand. And I was very fortunate that, my husband was working. So I did. And I understand sometimes it's tricky to just walk away, when you've got that sort of job, and, your job is your stability and it's your comfort. But I was fortunate enough that I could walk away from such a high paying job and still my house would still run. And I walked away. And after I walked away, I realized that the effects that had on me have it's been about 5-6 years, I still have areas of my hair which I have balded because of that role, and I was losing it. And for someone and that's where I come back to that thing, where someone who's really conscious and very, particular about the way I look and dress and stuff like that, it's something that will never now leave me, and I'm very mindful of that. And it's hard because it was a very hard lesson I learned before I made that decision. But again, I was fortunate that it's something that's aesthetic, right? Sometimes people don't get that opportunity to have a bit of a trigger or a bit of a bell that goes to them and says, hey, your body's about to shut down next week. Mate, if this doesn't look right, please get out of it now. Sometimes we don't get that option,
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? The warning signs are there. The warning signs are always there. Your body will always guide you, show you, try to alert you to the danger that you're in. But a lot of times we don't trust our intuition. So let's talk about intuition a little bit.
Please.
There must have been something that happened on the day you made that decision to leave that triggered everything. Tell us about that experience.
Yeah, absolutely. It was just a very, it's when you talk about that pinpoint moment and stuff. I still remember, again, it was a regular day, came into the office. And at this time I was doing ridiculous 55 hours a week, not being paid overtime because, when you're in a management role, that's just the expectations of you. I still remember I had come into the office, I think it was a Tuesday or a Wednesday, came in, so nothing out of the ordinary. And I sat down as per normal, looking through what we had on the plate for that day. And I just remember sitting there and I just felt automatically my body tensing up. I felt my teeth again starting to grind. And I was like, this doesn't seem right. This doesn't seem normal. It's like, Tripti, why are you putting yourself in this position? I remember my manager had come over, who was also the business owner. He came over and he had asked me a question about an order which had not been dispatched. And fulfillment was there, everything was there, but he asked it in a really snide way, and almost as though it was my doing that this order had not left the premises, whereas the guys forgot to put it on the truck, in simplicity. And I was like, I don't need this. I genuinely don't need this. I'm very content with my life at home. I'm very happy with my kids, and I'm just like, I'm done. I sat there in the office. I wrote my resignation. I handed it to him on the table and I just walked. And I think it was something that I should have done a lot earlier, but I guess it's like all of us, we continue to just push on and try and just think, okay, tomorrow's going to be a better day. Tomorrow's going to be a better day, but trust that intuition, trust that gut feel that you have. And if it doesn't seem right from the beginning, it's not going to change. It's not going to shift.
I love that. Now, you had a bit of a safety net in that you had your husband you could rely on. If there was somebody who's listening right now who doesn't have that financial support, what could be an exit strategy? How can people actually plan to exit once you get that feeling? Because sometimes you can't just do it because you're the breadwinner.
Yeah, absolutely, Gertrude. And that's a very tricky question to answer because I think it has a lot of facets involved with that question. I would say when you get that feeling, or if you're mindful of the signs prior to that cutoff, I guess, and for me, that cutoff was at that particular day, right? Trust that. And I would honestly say, trust your instincts. You're in a particular role or you're in a particular position because you deserve it. You have the skill sets and you have the capabilities and the ability to do that particular role or to be in that particular position. So trust that. When you see those initial signs, I would say start getting the word out there to try and look for other avenues. Start speaking to people. I think your network and your tribe, as we refer to it, I think that's incredibly important to get the message out there that, hey, I'm looking for a job. If you know anyone that's searching. LinkedIn's an incredibly powerful tool that I've actually had the fortunate opportunity of having two amazing jobs being offered through the LinkedIn profile and the LinkedIn community. have these strategies in place. Speak to recruitment agencies as well and let them know, look, this is what's happening. You can be on the forefront of this without having to badmouth your old employer, because I always say you never know. You never know when you're going to need someone. You never know whether, even if you leave, you may need to still take that reference from that particular person, right? So you don't want to burn your bridges, essentially, but put these things in place, like start looking at websites like Seek, start speaking to your personal network, start speaking to your recruitment agencies, the LinkedIn community, and be on the forefront, and give yourself, just as a last piece, give yourself a time. Because if you don't give that dead time, what's going to happen is you're going to just let your body continuously be in a position where it's unhappy and where you mentally are stressed and you're mentally not happy in that particular role that you're doing or in that particular position that you're doing. So you say, you know what, I'm giving myself 4 weeks. Be reasonable, be kind to yourself. Say, 4 weeks is a very reasonable target, and work backwards from that 4 weeks. I'm giving myself 4 weeks. After 4 weeks, I'm going to leave this particular position. So here are the steps that I'm going to do. And of course, make sure you check what your contract reads as well. There will be a clause in there in terms of termination period. So just be mindful of that as well.
That's fantastic advice. Now, what are the things that you do to take care of you? Your self-care rituals? Do you meditate? Do you walk? Do you run? How do you take care of yourself, and how can people take care of themselves as well?
Absolutely. That's the $1 million question. Look, I'm not going to lie. I can be better at self-care. Definitely. As a mum, as a wife, as a daughter-in-law, as a daughter, and as a friend, you're always doing something for someone else. You're always out there doing so. So it does get tricky, and as women, we always continue to pour so much for others and stuff. But some of the things, if I just wheel that back in, some of the things that I do is I've recently joined the gym. So I've been really passionate about just doing that. I actually feel good. I understand when these gym enthusiasts talk about it, if I haven't worked out today, I don't feel good. It's only been 3.5 weeks, but I'm loving it. I feel, if I haven't been to the gym, and at the gym, I'm doing a little bit of weights, I'm doing my cardio, I'm feeling good. That's something that I'm doing for myself that I really like. Another thing that I do, and I really recommend it, is having a diary. Look, I have a gratitude diary. I'm very, it's the best way to say, I'm very blessed, and I do writing my gratitude diary and the things that I'm thankful for. And when we talk about being blessed, it's not things, it's not like, okay, I have this car that I drive, or I have this massive, it's the little things. It's like, you know what, I'm very blessed that my children are healthy. I'm very content that, I'm healthy, and, and I can wake up in the morning and I can do things for myself. I'm not reliant on someone else. Today was a good day because, the sun's bloody shining in Melbourne. Where we've had rain and shocking 1 degree weather. So it's those little things that you start to really recognize. You can put that down in your gratitude diary. That definitely helps. Also, one thing that I have always done, which I do love, is I love eating out. I am a big foodie. Like, I can tell you, name me a place, I've probably been there. So whether it's once a week, once a fortnight, I'll make sure that I am going out for, whether it's for dessert or whether it's for dinner, or if it's a nice breakfast, catching up with a girlfriend, catching up with some friends and stuff, and going to go have that nice meal. And that's my little me time. I love that, catching up, having a great, glass of a bit bigger than a glass of gin or vodka with my nice meal. And that is some of the self-care things that I do. And as I said, I can always do a bit more, but they're the things that do keep me happy and keep me going, for sure.
Oh, I love that. Now let's talk a little bit about the inner critic. That little voice that plays in our heads, that puts you down, tells you you're not good enough, you're doing the wrong thing. I know that as human beings, we say things to ourselves we would never say to our own best friend. How
Yes.
do you control the inner critic in you?
Absolutely. And you just took the words right out of my mouth, Gertrude. I was actually going to say that I read that, and ever since I've read that, I really love that. Think about the things that you say to yourself. Would you ever say that to a best friend? And you probably wouldn't. And especially being a woman, you're very critical on yourself. The way you look, the way you dress, your body is, oh, I feel fat, or I don't look good in this, or any of these sort of things. I think the best thing to try and can you completely shut it off? I don't think so. You don't ever shove that inner critique. But I think it's important to give yourself that positive talk. I do follow a lot of things on Instagram and listen to podcasts, motivational podcasts as well, that definitely provide that, that one step up where you're just like, yeah, you know what, I've got this. Or I do like to sort of read a good quote in the morning. It sounds crazy, but I'll actually, a motivation quote that keeps me going. I will say with the inner critique, one element is, and it's really important that you remember that it's okay if it's challenging you. There's a very big difference between that inner critic, which is putting you down, versus saying, hey, you know what, you've done amazing, but do you think next time you can achieve, rather than your 500 sales target, you achieve 550? That's that positive motivation to get you to that next level. And that inner critic is okay to allow you not to be stagnant. It allows you to push yourself in a positive way. Have that in there, but the ones that are pushing you down, you have to shut that noise off. You really do it. And it is tricky, but it is also about having your people around you, making sure that you're in a circle knows what you're doing. And you know what? No one's going to celebrate you like you celebrate yourself. So give yourselves a pat on the back when you do something good, whatever it is, whether it's something at work, whether it's something personal, even if it is something as small as, I'll say, like when you've had a really hard day and you just can't be bothered, but you've just made dinner and you put dinner on the table for yourself and the family, give yourself a little credit for that, because, you've had a bad day at work or a bad day in the office, or you've had a fight with your best friend, but you know what? You've still done that little tick box. And I think that's important. Celebrate the little wins.
Yeah, that really is important. And I think the other thing to remember about the voice is that it's really your ego talking to you to try and protect you. The ego is designed to keep you from getting hurt, to keep you from getting harmed. And sometimes you just have to say, hey, I hear you. I'm fine. I've got this.
I've got this.
And give it that assurance as well, right? Otherwise, when you push against it, the more it tries to come.
I love it. Absolutely.
Definitely.
Great advice.
Now, they say that you are the sum total of the 5 people who surround you.
I've heard that, yes.
It's important to have the right people around you.
It's incredibly critical to have the right people around you. I can't emphasize that enough. And the reason why it's important is because the people that are around you are the ones that are going to cheer for you, bring you up and motivate you, or it's going to go the other way. It's as simple as that. I'm very fortunate that I do have some very strong, confident, but motivated people that genuinely love me and want to see me achieve. And they're actually in my corner and cheering me on and want me to do the next best thing. And those things keep you going, and you feel like, you know what, someone's there in your corner for you, that's cheering for you. And you're like, yeah, they can recognize the work that you're doing, because I think we're always so self-critical to actually acknowledge, hey, I've done this brilliant work, or I've completed this brilliant project. So having these critical influences around you is so important, and it does shape the way you are. They talk about it like, when people are in their early teens and, in their early 20s, you've got a bunch of people that are out there drinking and partying and stuff, and you get into that, but then that's the circle that you've created. That's okay to have fun. Trust me, I've had my fair share of fun as well. But then if you've got the right people around you, say, yep, that's fine, we can party, but let's, you work hard, you party hard. And those people do influence directly or indirectly the decisions that you make as well. And you are impacted by that. It's also critical in terms of the decisions, like if you want to go for the next role, or if you want to go for a management position and, you're like, I can do this. If you've got friends around you think, oh, I don't know, Tripti, I don't know whether you're quite ready. You've just jumped into this, there's still bits of areas you're going to start self-doubting. But if you've got people around you cheering you on, they may not know anything about the industry or the role, but that will motivate you to be like, yeah, you know what? I can do this. So of course I can. And you feel that. And those people are really critical in shaping how you are and shaping the decisions that you make as well.
Now, let me take you back to the younger you.
Okay.
If you could go back to the younger you who was trying to figure things out, trying to figure life out, and give that young woman 3 nuggets of wisdom based on what life has taught you, what 3 nuggets of wisdom would you share?
Wow, Gertrude, you're asking the hard-hitting questions today. First nugget that I would give is build your network. One of the things that I learned really early on is, irrespective of the industry that you work in, it's not what you know, it's who you know. That plays an incredibly critical part. So to my younger self, girl, you just keep doing you, keep creating those networks, keep creating those connections, because you don't know when and how they're going to help you. They're going to support you and they're going to bring you to that next opportunity. That's the first thing. The second thing I would say is look after yourself better. I know, and that's probably a very personal thing for myself, but I think it can resonate with a lot of people, a lot of women as well. I think we forget that, and that's what I said earlier as well. I think, again, whether it's that self-care piece or just putting yourself first, it's okay. It's not selfish. It's not selfish at all to do that, because, as you've heard, you can't pour from an empty cup, right? And yet, if you're looking after yourself first, then you are a good version of yourself to those that are around you. I heard an amazing quote yesterday by the wonderful personal coach and counselor Zoe Slater, and she's front of mind because I just attended this event yesterday. And her quote that she said was, "Success without self-care is sabotage." Which is brilliant. And, you are only going to be as successful as you want to be if you're looking after yourself in the first place, because if you ain't got your health, you don't have success, or you don't have success for much longer. So that would be number 2. And number 3 would be, you know what? Eat the bloody cake, mate. Don't worry about those calories. Just eat what your heart desires. You're going to be fine.
Now we're going to end our interview with a final question. And this time I'm going to teleport you into the future.
Okay.
I'm going to take you to the 90-year-old you.
Yes.
You're sitting on your porch in your veranda, surrounded by your children, your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren, whoever's going to be there at the time. If you could go and have a conversation with the future you, this wise woman who's led you up to that point, what would you say to her based on how you're living your life right now?
One of the things I would probably say is, one of the things I would say to an older self, that's tricky. I'd probably ask, why did you not trust your intuitions, and why did you fear so many things that didn't need the fear? That's what I'd say. You can see yourself, you're 90 now, look at the last, 70 years of your life. I'll say the first 20, you're still, first 20, 25 years, you're still discovering yourself. You're still finding out who you are as a woman, as an individual, as a human, what things drive you, what things motivate you, what things annoy you. But, at that point, I would be like, did you, just that's a tricky one, but yeah.
The reason why I asked that question, Tripti, is that a lot of women don't realize that that wise woman is already in you.
Oh,
all you have to say to her is thank you.
Oh, I love that. I love that. That's
Thank
true.
you for trusting the promptings, for trusting your intuition, because we have it in us already. When you feel an urge to do something, it's because you have all the knowledge, all the skills you need to make that thing real. But we second guess ourselves, we compare ourselves to others, and then we hold back and we start doubting. So 100%. If you feel that prompting, that urge to do something, trust yourself.
Love
So
it.
that when you're 90 years old, all you have to say is, thank you for guiding me here.
I love it. Oh, that was cheeky, but that was brilliant. I absolutely love that.
Tripti, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you today. Thank you so much for coming online and gracing us with your presence. Absolutely wonderful to always reconnect with you. And you and I are going to be creating another pretty funky podcast.
Yes, we
where
are.
we'll be talking about all things of women's emotional issues. So look out, world. This new podcast is coming. So start thinking of a title, Tripti.
I shall. I've got some already, but yeah, something to do with bats and cobwebs. Thank you so much for your time today, Gertrude. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. And thank you to everybody who's tuned in. The Her Story Circle is attracting some phenomenal women from all over the world, spreading their knowledge, their skills, and their inspiration. So tune in again tomorrow when I interview another interesting woman. In the meantime, have a fantastic day, morning, or evening, wherever you are in the world. And Tripti, thanks again for this interview.
Thank you so much. Take care, everyone. Thanks.
Bye for now, everybody. Thank you for tuning into the Her Story Circle podcast. I hope today's story has inspired you to believe in the power of our stories and the difference you can make in the world when you use your voice. I'm Gertrude Mache, and it's been an honor to share this space with you, where voices from all walks of life come together to weave a rich tapestry of diverse perspectives. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review our podcast to help us share these stories with more listeners. Follow us on social media by looking for the Her Story Circle podcast for more updates. And join us tomorrow for another episode filled with courage, resilience, and empowerment. Remember, your story matters, and together we're building a stronger, more inclusive world. Until next time, keep making her story.